Before diving into the video, did you know that over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? Your one like and one subscribe means the absolute world to this channel and helps us keep going. Hit those buttons real quick and let's get into the video. Chapter 1. The Silence After 2 Years. For 2 long years, Ethan took care of Chloe meticulously after she became paralyzed from the waist down. Before her injury, Chloe was born into extreme privilege, an elegant, untouchable goddess who was highly independent and possessed a fierce temper. When she lost the use of her legs, she fell into deep despair, refusing to let any professional caregivers touch her. Every time her mother, Mrs. Vance, hired a nurse, Chloe would fly into a rage and drive them away. Seeing her suffering, Ethan decided to take matters into his own hands. He spent 3 months studying under a professional massage therapist, soaking his hands in medicinal water and practicing on himself until his hands were ready. In the beginning, he only dared to massage Chloe's legs while she was asleep. Because she was a light sleeper, she caught him once and screamed, "Don't touch me. Get your filthy hands off me. Get out." Ethan didn't leave. He patiently kept applying pressure to her acupoints. Helpless to move her legs, Chloe grabbed a pillow and hurled it at him. When he remained unmoved, she threw everything within arm's reach. The final object she threw was a framed photo from her college days, capturing her holding a trophy, radiant and full of life. The frame struck Ethan's head, and warm blood trickled down his forehead. Seeing the blood, Chloe broke down, covering her face and sobbing, "Just go. Please leave. It's useless. I can't feel anything. It won't work." Despite her despair, Ethan returned every single day, rain or shine, to help with her rehabilitation. One day, Mrs. Vance found that Chloe had swallowed sleeping pills and rushed her to the hospital. Distraught and at a loss, Mrs. Vance watched as Ethan squatted in front of Chloe, looked her in the eyes, and told her, "Everything will be okay. Trust me." From that day on, Ethan officially moved into the Vance household. Mrs. Vance wept as she thanked him, and Ethan promised her that as long as Chloe didn't drive him away, he would never leave her side. Even when Chloe had further breakdowns, destroying her bedroom in fits of rage, Ethan stayed. Little by little, over 2 years of daily care, Chloe's legs began to regain sensation. She felt pressure, then made small movements, until finally, she underwent a major surgery. The doctor announced that the operation was a complete success and she would fully recover within half a month. Outside her hospital room, friends and family gathered, joyfully gossiping. Everyone believed that the very first thing Chloe would do once she stood up was marry Ethan. Hearing the chatter from the open door, Ethan looked at Chloe and asked, "Do you still want to marry me?" Chloe froze. She stared down at her legs for a long time, maintaining a heavy, awkward silence. Ethan softly broke the tension by massaging her calf, asking if the pressure was okay. She relaxed and said it felt good, but she still didn't answer his question. Though Ethan didn't expect a relationship based on gratitude, he remembered a time after a failed treatment when Chloe had bitten his shoulder so hard it left a permanent scar, panicked, apologized, and then asked, "Ethan, do you have a crush on me?" When he confessed he did, she had explicitly told him, "Ethan, when my legs recover, I want to marry you immediately." Now that she was cured, everything changed. Ethan looked up and asked a final time, "Chloe, do you still want to marry me?" Chloe hesitated, parting her lips, but remained entirely silent. The disdain and reluctance in her eyes were impossible to hide. Ethan smiled calmly, stood up, and went to wash the medicinal oil off his hands. From the bathroom doorway, Chloe finally spoke. "Ethan, you're like a brother to me." A sharp, throbbing pain pulsed through Ethan's head. He walked back into the room, pulled a modest wedding ring box from his pocket, and tossed it lightly into the trash bin. He knew it didn't match her wealthy status, but he had held on to it naively. Strangely, throwing it away brought him an immense sense of relief. Chloe watched him, a flicker of something crossing her gaze as if she wanted to speak, but Ethan waved it off and pushed her wheelchair out of the room. Chapter 2. The 70 bank card. Outside the room, Chloe's friends immediately swarmed them, teasingly asking what secrets the lovebirds, were whispering and joking about preparing for the wedding. They began planning a skiing trip to Titley, an exclusive, renowned resort, to celebrate her recovery. One friend turned to Ethan and said, "Brother-in-law, you have to come too and take care of Chloe." Ethan, holding on to his remaining pride after being rejected twice, replied, "You guys go ahead." Suddenly, Chloe chimed in, "He can come too. After all, I see him as my brother." The room went dead silent. A friend awkwardly broke the tension, laughing it off by saying Chloe's brain was just catching up after surgery, but Chloe said nothing to correct them. Ethan recalled an old friend warning him years ago. A rich girl like her is from a completely different world. If she were healthy, do you think she would ever choose to marry you? Now, Chloe had given him the definitive answer. Realizing the vast gap between their worlds, Ethan stepped into the hallway and called Mrs. Vance. Earlier that day, Mrs. Vance had tried to press a bank card into his hand, which Ethan had ignored. Now, he asked her about it. Mrs. Vance eagerly cut in, telling him the card contained an 8-figure sum, a 7, followed by 7 zeros, $70 million, as a reward for his 2 years of devotion. Ethan went back into his room, packed his few pieces of clothing, and threw them into the trash. He kept nothing but the bank card. As he walked through the living room at 1 a.m., a wealthy heir asked where he was going so late. Not wanting to make Chloe look bad, Ethan smiled and said he was just stepping out for a bowl of noodles. The friends joked about ordering expensive takeout instead, but Ethan waved them off. Chloe stared at him unblinkingly, realizing what was happening. Ethan waved goodbye and walked out of the Vance household forever. Chapter 3: The Cafe Confrontation. Ethan found himself a new place to stay. For the first time in 2 years, he didn't have to watch over Chloe or brace himself for midnight breakdowns. Sitting on his balcony with a beer, he realized he wasn't heartbroken. He just felt incredibly light. In the early morning, Chloe called him. After a long silence, she said, "Ethan, I feel like eating your homemade meat buns for breakfast." During her paralysis, she had refused to eat high-end chef food, and Ethan had broken her hunger strikes by eating delicious Cantonese dim sum right in front of her until she caved. He had eventually learned to cook her favorite meals himself. Ethan replied calmly, "Chloe, I'm gone," and hung up. He checked the bank card, and the staggering number of zeros confirmed exactly what his parents had told him. 2 years prior, his ordinary, small-town parents had visited him. Mrs. Vance had served an extravagant feast that was overwhelmingly expensive. At the time, Ethan's dad had told him, "If it's too much, just let it go. We're from different worlds." Ethan now realized that Mrs. Vance's overwhelming generosity hadn't just been gratitude. It was a loud and clear message that they were not social equals. Using the money, Ethan bought a brand new apartment and threw himself into renovations. Half a month later, he was sitting at a cafe near his new place when he overheard Chloe and her friends sitting at the table directly behind him. Her friends were urging her to apologize to Ethan, saying he had doted on her for years and would forgive her if she just acted a little spoiled. Chloe, whose skin was blindingly pale from being indoors for 2 years, dismissed them, saying, "If Ethan shows up in front of me right now, then we'll see." Just then, Ethan's friend Julian walked in, loudly shouting, "Ethan, they have your favorite croissants today." Chloe's table went entirely silent as they realized Ethan was sitting right there. Her friends nudged her to go talk to him. Julian noticed the tension. Julian was actually an ex-admirer of Chloe. When Chloe was bedridden, Julian had brought her flowers, and she had violently thrown them in his face, humiliating him. Ethan had quietly cleaned up the mess, patted Julian on the shoulder, and placed the flowers back in the vase. Halfway down the hall, Julian had told Ethan, "You're a good guy. Honestly, you should stop liking Chloe too. She doesn't deserve you." Since that day, Julian and Ethan had become close friends. Chloe walked over to Ethan's table, her lips pressed tightly together. Her friends called out, "Chloe, just apologize. I bet he'll forgive you right away." Ethan cut her off. "I don't need an apology. Love was supposed to be mutual, and since he had taken a massive payout, he had no intention of trying to have it both ways." Chloe sighed in relief, but then naively asked, "When are you coming back?" Ethan was explicit, "I'm not going back." Chloe walked back to her table, and coldly told her friends there would be no wedding. When they asked why, she scoffed loudly, ensuring Ethan could hear. "Why would you assume I'd marry him just because I owe him? Do I have to repay it with my life? I already told you I see him as a brother." Ethan stood up, looked her friends in the eye, and said, "You guys misunderstood. I was just paid to take care of Chloe." Then, looking at Chloe's furious eyes, he added, "And you don't have to see me as a brother either. A stranger will do." Chapter 4. Chloe's Love and Ethan's Peace. To prove a point, Chloe began dating loudly and publicly. She plastered her new boyfriend all over social media and attended events clinging to his arm. Eventually, Ethan ran into them at a gathering of mutual friends. Chloe and her new man sat in a far corner. When a fruit platter arrived, she nudged her boyfriend, who eagerly began peeling oranges and feeding her grapes. However, Chloe looked completely detached, blankly chewing while staring into space. Even outsiders could see the relationship was entirely hollow. As Ethan helped a drunk friend out the door, Chloe's boyfriend stepped in front of him, blocking his path with a self-righteous grin. "I know you," the boyfriend said. "Chloe really owes you a lot for all the care you gave her. Just don't try to guilt trip anyone. That was your duty. If Chloe had been my girlfriend back then, I would have done the same thing." Ethan chuckled inwardly. The man spoke with grand conviction, but he had no understanding of the endless patience, the sleepless nights, and the shattered glass Ethan had endured. Ethan joked, "If it ever comes to that, just hire a caregiver instead." This comment enraged Chloe. She slammed her glass hard against the table and snapped, "What's the point of bringing up the past? It's boring." Ethan realized that her anger didn't stem from moving on. It stemmed from deep shame. Life moved on. Ethan immersed himself in his hobbies, bought a yacht, made new friends within the fishing community, and spent his days out on the water at absolute peace. Though a few women showed interest, they quickly lost patience when they realized Ethan wasn't the type to shower them with extravagant gifts or dates. His friends joked that he was like Lucky Chuck, the guy women date right before finding their permanent partner. Ethan didn't mind. Having poured his entire soul into Chloe for 2 years, he just wanted to focus on himself and wait for someone genuine. Chapter 5. Enter Maya. Within 6 months, Chloe broke up with her boyfriend, immediately jumped into another relationship, publicized it, and then broke up again. Eventually, she stopped posting. Her friends began dropping hints to Ethan that she was single again, urging him to chase her. As the new year approached, Ethan flew back to his hometown. To his surprise, his old friends were all waiting for him at the airport, teasing him about how tan he had gotten from fishing. Despite his split with Chloe, they had remained fiercely loyal to him. Chloe was standing there too, looking lost in thought. She stepped forward and said, "Long time no see." Ethan responded politely. She hesitated, starting to say, "My legs." But Ethan's phone rang. A bright, energetic voice came through the line. It was Maya, Ethan's new girlfriend. They had met through their shared love for fishing, establishing a deep, effortless connection built on absolute sincerity and shared values. Ethan sent her his location. Moments later, a girl in a pink down jacket came running through the airport terminal and threw her arms around Ethan, clinging to him and saying sweetly, "I miss you so much." Ethan introduced her to his stunned friends. "This is Maya, my girlfriend." Maya's lively, outgoing personality instantly won his friends over. They playfully demanded Ethan pay for a massive dinner to make up for hiding her. Maya mimicked Ethan's gestures, laughing and echoing, "Dinner's on me." When they arrived at the restaurant, the seating was perfectly arranged with no extra chairs. Suddenly, someone noticed Chloe hadn't joined them. They called her, and Chloe claimed her legs were hurting and that she was at the hospital. Given her history, the friends grew incredibly anxious and hesitant to stay at dinner. Sensing their discomfort, Ethan gave them an out. "Go check on Chloe. We can have dinner anytime. Maya and I are tired anyway. We'll just head home." Maya cheerfully waved them off. Chapter 6. The Game of Loyalty. As Ethan and Maya walked back to his apartment, Maya was full of joy, asking endless questions about the flowers, the street signs, and the stray dogs. But when they reached his front door, Chloe was standing there waiting for them. Maya's grip on Ethan's arm failed for a moment, but she stepped forward boldly and said, "Chloe's sister, right?" Chloe ignored Maya entirely, looking straight at Ethan. "Long time no see," she repeated. Ethan cut through the tension. "This is my girlfriend, Maya." Chloe's lips twitched. "My legs might have a problem," she said to Ethan. Maya immediately interjected with deep concern, pulling out her phone. "If your legs aren't doing well, you should go to the hospital right away. Do you need me to call an ambulance? After all, my boyfriend isn't a doctor." Chloe continued to ignore her, calling out, "Ethan." Maya, refusing to slide into the background, leaned her face right in front of Ethan's. "Ethan, why isn't she answering me?" "Ethan, what?" Ethan sighed and gently pushed Maya's forehead away, unlocking the door. Maya reminded him bluntly, "Ethan, you forgot Chloe is still here." Chloe asked, "Can we talk?" Maya looked up at Ethan. "Ethan, what do you need to talk to her about?" Ethan finally realized Maya was playing the role of a playfully possessive, pretentious coquette to protect him. Playing along, Ethan said, "I don't have anything to talk about with her," and closed the door on Chloe. Inside, Maya clung to his arm, pouting, "I'm jealous." Ethan ruffled her hair. He had already told Maya everything about his past with Chloe when they started dating, leaving nothing out. Maya muttered, "I hate that you're such a blockhead, but then again, being a blockhead is a good thing. It means you don't even notice when other women are trying to flirt with you." That night, Chloe called Ethan from new number. "Ethan," she scoffed, "did you know your girlfriend had a 4-year-long first love?" Chloe truly was in the hospital, and her condition was highly unstable. All the ex-boyfriends who had previously sworn they would never abandon her showed up at the hospital, but none of them lasted more than 2 days. Most fled within hours. Ethan's friends messaged him, saying she got exactly what she deserved and warning him not to soften. Ethan had no intention of looking back. A few nights later, Mrs. Vance messaged Ethan, begging him to meet Chloe alone. Maya was sitting right next to him when the text arrived, and Ethan replied, "Sorry, my girlfriend might not be okay with that." Mrs. Vance called him, sobbing desperately. "I'm begging you. I'll give you as much money as you want. Chloe can't just stop eating. Please just let her eat. Why is this happening to us?" Maya squeezed Ethan's hand and softly whispered, "It's okay if you see her. Don't worry about me." But Ethan knew that if he went once, they would find endless reasons to drag him back into their toxic cycle. He held firm to Mrs. Vance. "I'm sorry. I don't owe you anything. I have my own life to live, and so does Chloe." The next day, a friend confirmed that Chloe's muscles had severely atrophied due to a low-probability medical relapse. She was bound to return to the wheelchair permanently. Having tasted freedom, she was now completely broken, but Ethan chose not to respond. Chloe then called him directly, masking her misery with a bitter scoff. "Ethan, do you really think you and your little girlfriend will last? Want to bet? Bet on your girlfriend's loyalty." Ethan let out a cold laugh. "I'm not playing this childish game with you." Chloe's final words were, "Just wait and see. Beautiful women never stay faithful." Chapter 7. The Creeping Unease. The new year brought immense busyness for Ethan. Maya wanted to explore the city, but because Ethan was tied up with work, she began exploring on her own. She made friends effortlessly, leaving early in the morning and leaving handwritten notes in the living room. Slowly, a creeping unease settled over Ethan. He began wondering what she was doing and who she was meeting. Before he could find the time to talk to her, Chloe messaged him from yet another new number. It was a photo of Maya sitting in a cafe, laughing radiantly with another man. Chloe texted, "See? This is your girlfriend. Guess what? Think she'll come home tonight." Ethan blocked the number immediately. He texted Maya, asking what she was up to. She quickly replied that she was having dinner with friends and would be home around 10 p.m. Ethan sat on his couch, anxiously watching the clock tick away. 10 p.m. passed. 11 p.m. passed. There was no sign of Maya and no messages. Chloe called him from a different number, laughing coldly. "So, am I right or am I right? Beautiful women never stay faithful." Ethan frowned, wondering what Chloe was trying to achieve. He thought to himself that even if Maya did betray him, he would simply break up, heal, and find someone else. He would never lose the courage to try again. He reflected on how he used to defend Chloe when Julian told him she didn't deserve him. Looking back objectively, Chloe had a terrible temper, had given up on herself despite having the best medical care, and was now trying to drag Ethan down with her. She truly had never deserved him. Chapter 8. The Harborder. By 1 a.m., Maya still wasn't home. Ethan grew tired of listening to Chloe's narrative and decided to go downstairs to find out the truth himself. Just as he stepped outside, a car pulled up. Maya got out of the passenger seat. In the driver's seat was the exact man from Chloe's photo. Seeing Ethan, Maya stiffened, looking flustered. "Ethan," she called out quickly, "I got home a little late." The man in the car noticed Ethan too. He gave Ethan a casual wave and started to pull away. Ethan stepped forward and knocked firmly on the window. The man hesitated and rolled it down. "What's up?" he asked. Ethan looked him dead in the eye. "Are you Maya's first love?" The man's expression shifted to deep unease. "You're Maya's boyfriend, right? Don't misunderstand. I was just—" Ethan cut him off sharply. "Yes or no?" Maya hurried over, anxiously explaining that the traffic was terrible. Ethan ignored her excuse. 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. was too long a delay for a simple traffic issue. He repeated to the man, "Yes or no?" The man quieted down and answered, "Yes." Ethan turned on his heel. Right then and there, he broke up with Maya. The man jumped out of his car, chasing after Ethan to explain. "Man, I swear I wasn't trying to get in between you two. I was just in town for work, and Maya was traveling too, so we just grabbed a meal. We didn't do anything. You can check the security footage if you want." The more the man spoke, the more frustrated Ethan became. It wasn't about whether they physically did anything. It was entirely about the breach of trust. Maya cut the man off, sharply telling him to stop talking. The man sighed guiltily, got back into his car, and drove away. Maya quickened her pace, following Ethan all the way up to his apartment door and blocking it so he couldn't close it. "We need to talk," she pleaded. Ethan looked down at her coldly. "No, we don't." From the very beginning of their relationship, Ethan had been entirely transparent about his boundaries. Mutual honesty and complete transparency. He had bared his entire past to her, yet she had hidden her first love, hidden their meetings, and lied about her whereabouts. Ethan had consciously chosen to keep his distance from other women, to be reserved, and to be completely hers. In return, she had kept secrets. Ethan breathed out calmly and said, "It's over." Chapter 9. Sincerity and Solitude. In the days that followed, Ethan's friends invited him out, telling him to bring Maya along. Ethan openly told them they had broken up. His sympathetic friends immediately tried to set him up with other women, but Ethan refused. He was still willing to wait for someone genuinely sincere, and if that person ever appeared, he was perfectly content being alone. Mrs. Vance continued to flood his phone with calls, begging him to visit a failing Chloe. Ethan remained completely unmovable. Instead of going, he compiled and sent over all the meal plans, physical prescriptions, and medical guidance Chloe would need to manage her muscle atrophy. With his duty fully discharged, he booked a flight to return to his peaceful life away from Sea City. This time, Ethan didn't miss his flight. But as he took his seat on the plane, he looked over and found Maya sitting right beside him. She grinned, her eyes curving into beautiful crescents. "Ethan, this time we didn't miss each other," she said. She was still too young and playful to comprehend the gravity of why Ethan had ended things. She thought she could simply charm her way back into his life. She pouted, clung tightly to his arm, and pleaded softly, "I was wrong. Let's get back together. I promise I'll be good. Forgive me, Ethan. Can't we just be happy together?" She repeated the words over and over, but she failed to realize the core issue. Ethan had rejected Mrs. Vance's millions in absolute desperation just to protect his relationship with Maya, so there was absolutely no reason he should tolerate Maya hiding her first love from him. Ethan looked at her and said simply, "No, we're not getting back together. Let's end it here." When the plane landed, they walked out of the terminal. Maya stood on the sidewalk, looking pitifully at him. Ethan turned his back for a brief moment to hail a taxi. When he glanced back over his shoulder, she was already gone. Though she was too young, playful, and flawed to last, Ethan didn't regret the relationship. She had been passionate, and he had truly experienced her warmth. As he got into the taxi, Ethan smiled to himself. He knew that when the time was right, he would still take his next relationship seriously, meeting true sincerity with true sincerity. Chapter 10. The Golden Shift. Returning to his coastal life. Something inside Ethan permanently hardened. He had given absolute, unyielding devotion to Chloe, only to be met with silent disdain. He had offered complete transparency to Maya, only to be rewarded with omission and late-night secrets. He realized that sacrificing his peace for the emotional security of others was a losing game. It was time to play a different one. Ethan looked at his bank account. The $70 million was an incredible safety net, but in the world of high finance, it was just the buy-in. He decided to multiply it. He hired a team of elite, cutthroat financial advisors and aggressively split his capital. He heavily shorted failing tech conglomerates, poured millions into emerging commercial real estate in booming coastal hubs, and capitalized on high-risk, high-return cryptocurrency liquidities. Within 18 months, Ethan didn't just grow his wealth, he transformed it. The 8-figure bank card evolved into a staggering 9-figure empire, yielding hundreds of millions. With unfathomable wealth came an entirely new lifestyle. Ethan stopped hiding from the luxury his money could buy. He purchased a sprawling, ultra-modern clifftop villa overlooking the ocean, complete with an infinity pool, private security, and a subterranean garage. He filled that garage with engineering marvels, a matte black Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, a custom Porsche and 911 Singer for daily driving, and a collection of rare, high-performance sports bikes, including a Ducati Superleggera V4. His wardrobe shifted from casual fishing gear to bespoke, tailored Italian suits from Brioni and Tom Ford. He no longer waited for sincerity. He commanded attention. Every watch on his wrist, from iced-out Audemars Piguet Royal Oaks to minimalist Patek Britannias, spoke of a man who had completely conquered his past and was now living entirely for his own indulgence. Chapter 11. The Ultimate Playboy. With his radical transformation, Ethan's approach to women changed entirely. The naively faithful blockhead was dead. In his place stood a devastatingly charming, aloof playboy who understood the rules of the high society dating game perfectly. He no longer looked for the one. Instead, his yacht became a revolving door for elite models, high-profile influencers, and sophisticated socialites. He made the terms explicitly clear without ever saying a word. He provided a life of dazzling luxury, Michelin-starred dinners, private jet trips to Ibiza, and endless streams of designer gifts from Chanel and Hermes. But he gave absolutely none of his heart. The moment a woman tried to probe into his emotional life or hint at exclusive commitment, Ethan would smile smoothly, hand her a final parting gift, and effortlessly move on to the next. He became a ghost in the dating world, deeply desired, utterly unattainable, and completely unbothered. Inevitably, word of Ethan's astronomical rise and notorious playboy lifestyle traveled all the way back to Sea City. One evening, while hosting an exclusive charity gala at a luxury hotel penthouse, Ethan ran into some of his old mutual friends, who looked at his tailored suit and entourage of stunning women with sheer awe. They pulled him aside and, in hushed tones, told him about Chloe and Maya. Chloe, now permanently confined to her wheelchair, spent her days bitterly scrolling through social media. Watching Ethan live the exact high society life she thought he was unworthy of, suffocating under the weight of her own regret. Maya, having grown up too late, was reportedly miserable, realizing that the one genuinely stable, protective man she had taken for granted was now entirely out of her reach, surrounded by women far more glamorous than she had ever been. Ethan listened to the gossip, his expression completely blank. He didn't feel anger, triumph, or malice. He simply swirled the vintage champagne in his glass, gave his old friends a polite, distant smile, and said, "I'm glad they're keeping track. Excuse me, ladies are waiting." He walked back to his inner circle, slipping his arm around the waist of a breathtaking French model, utterly detached from the ghosts of his past, reigning supreme in a kingdom of his own making. Chapter 12. The Sovereign of the Coast. As the months bled into another year, Ethan's financial footprint expanded from aggressive investments to absolute market dominance. He established Aegis Capital, a private equity firm that specialized in hostile takeovers of struggling luxury brands and high-end hospitality chains. When a historic five-star resort development in Bali stalled due to funding, Ethan swooped in, bought out the debt for pennies on the dollar, and rebranded it into an ultra-exclusive, members-only paradise. Money was no longer a tool for survival or security. It was a scoreboard. His net worth cleared the $500 million mark. To match his soaring status, Ethan commissioned a custom 150-foot superyacht, christened the Sincerity, a tongue-in-cheek nod to the virtue that had once cost him so much. The vessel was a floating fortress of decadence, featuring a helipad, a glass-bottomed pool, and a staff trained by Michelin-star hospitality experts. His real estate portfolio grew into a global empire. Beyond his clifftop fortress, he acquired a penthouse in Monaco overlooking the Formula One circuit, a historic villa in Lake Como, and a sleek, minimalist chalet in Aspen. His garage grew into a museum of absolute rarity. He added a Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport in exposed carbon fiber and a bespoke Rolls-Royce Spectre for effortlessly quiet arrivals. He no longer wore off-the-rack luxury. His clothes were constructed from proprietary fabrics woven specifically for him by Seville tailors. Ethan had become an urban legend in high society circles. The self-made titan who arose from the ashes of a middle-class background to outspend, outbuild, and outlive the old money elites who had once looked down on his family. Chapter 13. The Velvet Cage. With his absolute wealth and devastating charm, Ethan's reputation as the world's most elusive playboy was cemented. He frequented the Cannes Film Festival, the Monaco Grand Prix, and exclusive fashion weeks, always flanked by the world's most sought-after women. Top-tier actresses, international supermodels, and heiresses to multi-billion-dollar fortunes competed desperately just to catch his eye, fully aware of his strict, unspoken rule: enjoy the luxury, but never ask for the man. He treated romance like a high-stakes casino game where he held all the cards. He was incredibly attentive, deeply charming, and fiercely protective in the moment, but his emotional core remained entirely locked away in a velvet cage. One evening, while docked in the marina of a luxury Mediterranean port, Ethan hosted an intimate gathering on the Sincerity. Among the guests was a prominent socialite from Sea City who had traveled in the same elite circles as Chloe's family. During a quiet moment on the upper deck, she approached Ethan, holding a glass of vintage champagne. Looking at him with a mix of awe and pity for the people he left behind, she spoke softly. "You know, Ethan, Mrs. Vance tried to call my father last week. She was trying to liquidate their family's secondary estate just to cover Chloe's mounting experimental medical bills. Chloe won't let anyone touch her legs anymore. She just stares at your yacht's tracking map on her tablet. She's completely hollow." The socialite paused, watching Ethan's face for any flicker of the boy who used to bleed for Chloe. Finding none, she continued. "And Maya, she was spotted at a low-end cafe near your old apartment last month, completely intoxicated, crying to her friends that she would trade her entire youth just to have you push her forehead away one more time." Ethan stood by the teak railing, the cool sea breeze rustling his linen shirt. He looked out at the dark, vast ocean, his mind perfectly still. The ghosts of Sea City were entirely powerless against the titan he had become. He took a slow sip of his drink, turned to the socialite, and gave her a devastatingly handsome, utterly empty smile. "The past is a terrible investment, darling. It yields absolutely no returns." Just then, a stunning Italian actress emerged from the cabin, wrapping her arms around his neck and whispering an invitation into his ear. Ethan smoothly stepped away from the gossip of his old life, walking back into the warmth of his brightly lit paradise, leaving the broken pieces of Chloe and Maya exactly where they belonged, completely in his shadow.